Welcome to Bold Moves Radio. The show is Prudent Woman with myself. I am RHULANI BALOYI. I am your host. Thank you for joining us. As always, we are with you every Sunday, 4 o'clock up until 5 o'clock. This is Prudent Woman. It's a show that we talk about a whole lot of things that concerns women and even their loved ones, to say, let us get information so that as women, we can take intentional decisions that are backed by information. And once more, again, we're having a wonderful conversation with our sister, Sane Mazibuko. She's a diabetes advocate. And she's going to be telling us about why she is an advocate. And when we say she's a diabetes advocate, what does it mean? Says Sane, we are here with you and thank you for joining us. We're going to have a wonderful time because we're going to be we're going to be bringing in awareness on diabetes. Even as nationally, the month of November, we create awareness on diabetes. And thank you to all of you who are joining us. Those of you joining us via the Facebook and YouTube, please be part of the conversation. As we say, we spark conversations. Drop down your questions, your comments, anything that you have that you wish to ask Sane and even myself and even other listeners and viewers as we have this conversation on diabetes. And those of you who are listening to us via the Bold Moves Radio app, please drop down your questions via WhatsApp to 081 358 8745. Let me repeat, the number is 081 358 8745. Be part of this wonderful conversation because what's important in life is to know the risks that you are faced with so that you are able to take precautions and you know how to respond to whatever risks that are facing you. And when you read, at this point in time, they say diabetes is amongst the highest killers on earth. But when you know your risks, when you know your status, you are able to respond appropriately. That's why today we are talking to this wonderful woman, says Sane Mazibuko. Our Sane, please, may you greet our audience. And as you greet them, please go ahead and tell us what is it that you do.
Hi, this is RHULANI. Thank you so much for having me. As you mentioned, my name is Sane Mazibuko. I'm a 34-year-old by profession. I'm a professional that lives in Cape Town. I'm a mother of one. In my past time, I enjoy watching sports. So the last couple of weeks have been hectic with the rugby and the world and the cricket World Cup. And I enjoy the performing arts. Family is very close to me. I love family. And yeah, as you mentioned, I am a person living with type 1 diabetes, and I have been living with the condition for 27 years. Yeah.
Thank you, Sis Sane. And we are grateful to have you today joining us. And even as you say, you've been living with diabetes for that number of years. We are grateful to have someone who's willing to come and share their life with us and their experience with this condition so that we can all learn. And even as I understand that you are part of Diabetes Advocacy South Africa, and you'll be sharing with us because I would like to believe there's quite a number of research that is being put in terms of managing this condition and what this condition is all about, and sharing with us all the information that can help us to be able to respond appropriately as we get to know what this condition is all about. Yes, the month of November, we create awareness on diabetes. And there's a lot of things that are being done. You know, I always say when you look at conditions, most especially health conditions, you cannot say, I know enough at a certain point in time because researchers go on and on to research about these conditions. And every now and then, there are new things that are discovered. And every now and then, there are new medication, new mutations that comes in place as and when we evolve as the humankind. And in this show, I would like to believe I invite all of you listening to me, even if you know about diabetes, but there is something that may be new that may help you to respond appropriately. As funny, may I invite you specifically for someone who have heard about diabetes, but they are not sure what is this condition. May you please take us through just to explain to us what exactly is it when we say someone has got this condition, diabetes?
Okay, thanks for that. So, diabetes exists in different forms, right? As I mentioned, I have type 1 diabetes, which means that for me, for me, it's an autoimmune condition, which means that regardless of what I do, there's a certain point in my life where my pancreas just stops working. Okay, what the pancreas does is basically it does a balancing act within your body. When you consume food, when you use up energy and the likes, the pancreas then balances out the whole act within your body to make sure that your body functions well. In my body, my pancreas just doesn't work. At the age of 7 years old, my pancreas did just stop working. Some people can live normal lives up until 30, 40, even in their 50s sometimes, and that's when their pancreas decides not to work. So that's how my diabetes differs from the next person. And so what I do is basically manually do what the pancreas is supposed to do. I use an insulin pen, which I inject every single day of my life to ensure that the balancing act continues in my body. As I said, I've got type 1 diabetes, but there's also people who have type 2 diabetes, which is a little bit different from what I have. Basically, for
Mm,
them, their bodies do produce insulin, but not as much insulin as they're supposed to. And so then their body become resistant to insulin. And then their treatment would differ from mine in the sense that those people would typically orally take tablets to help them manage the condition. But treatment is just one element of the balancing act that one needs to do when they have this condition of diabetes. I think
mm,
you spoke about the SA advocacy group that I'm part of. There's an acronym that we normally go with that's called TEAL, which is TEEL. The first T stands for treatment. Always ensure that you take your treatment in accordance to what your doctor prescribed or your healthcare professional prescribed for you. The one
yeah,
E stands for eating. Ensure that you are eating well, eating a balanced diet, and try and eat.
mm,
I know, like sometimes when you say balanced diet, people have different versions of what that means. Some people start thinking about
mm,
a keto diet, a carb-free diet, and so on and so forth. The reality of it is,
mm,
you do actually need all the different food substances in your life in order for you to have a balanced diet. So you do need your protein, you do need some carbs, you do need some fats. Not all of it needs to be bad fat. You do have low fat-free foods and low-fat foods. So try and opt for those options rather than having a meal that's rich in fats and so on and so forth. So that's what we mean when we talk about eating a balanced diet. And then there's also the other E stands for exercise. We encourage for people to have movement and exercise. And by exercise, we don't mean now you need to sign up to the gym and pay fees and whatnot.
mm,
Exercise can be as simple as making sure that you take a walk every day. It can be a 20 minutes walk. It can be if just some form of movement is regarded as exercise, and it can do wonders in helping you balance your body. And then the last letter is L, which stands for in the case where you are potentially overweight, try and lose a little bit of weight so that you can be able to manage your condition a little bit better.
Oh, thank you very much. These are things that most of the time, because once you hear about a condition over and over, and negative connotations are attached to that condition. At times, as human beings, you tend to want to even shy away from understanding what that condition is all about. And I've realized it's very important for one to understand it, because that will also help you to even understand its symptoms, and you are even able to help the people who are around you in order to fully understand what they are faced with. And when you know something, it's easier for you to approach someone who may be seeking help. But if you do not know, it becomes very difficult. You mentioned a bit about Diabetes Advocacy South Africa and the acronym that you were just explaining to us. But just as an organization, I would want you to dwell more into it. What is it that you basically do within the organization, and how can one who wants help, maybe someone needing support, how should they be, what type of help will they get from you, and how should they access the help? But again, someone who wishes to be an advocate just like yourself, someone who says, I've lived with that condition and I would like to share my life with other people so that I can help the next person, how will they go about being part of Advocacy South Africa?
Thanks for that. So I think how the group itself came about is we realized that we were a group of people living in our own little corners, and we wanted relatable stories empower each other through our stories. And I think that's was kind of the core reason why the group was formed. As much as I'm not a former member of it, I have been with the former members sort of almost from at a certain clinic or because of my medical aid. I read a lot about diabetes, and I saw a lot of the communities that existed were typically American and UK based. I think they were based abroad, and that's why when I saw a platform like
Sesame, may I interject you?
yeah,
Sane, may I interject you? I'm getting a response that they can't hear your speaker, and even myself, I'm struggling to get you. I will want us to go on an egg break. Can you please disconnect? Maybe you can use a phone, connect with a phone, and then you'll come back. So just log off and connect again. I'll be on. Yeah. Thank you very much. And our apologies for that. We will go on an ad break whilst she fixes her camera.
Gospel Divas celebrating Women's Month. 9
Are you ready for the ultimate dietary powerhouse? Look no further than Masana Dietitian's Nutro Boost. Our scientifically formulated low GI food is designed to give you the boost you need to fuel your body and reach your health goals. With NutriBoost, you have the flexibility to enjoy it as a high-fiber cereal or a satisfying shake. Simply mix it with water and indulge in the mouth-watering flavors that we have to offer. But that's not all. NutriBoost is packed with essential nutrients that are beneficial for your overall well-being. Enriched with 20 immune-boosting vitamins and minerals, it's a convenient and effective way to support your immune system. And here's the best part. NutriBoost is gluten-free, egg-free, and high in omega-3, making it suitable for those with dietary restrictions or allergies. Need an energy boost? NutriBoost has you covered. It's high in energy and protein, providing you with the fuel you need to power through your day. Whether it's a busy morning or an intense workout session, say goodbye to midday slumps and hello to sustained energy with NutriBoost. Try it today and experience the difference. For orders or to become a distributor, contact us on the following details.
You are listening to Bold Moves Radio. The show is Prudent Woman with myself. I am RHULANI BALOYI. Thank you very much for all of you. And our apologies for that technical challenge. Yes, we had a problem with our sound from our Sane, but I would like to believe it is sorted. Says Sane, may I request that I think when you were talking about Advocacy South Africa, that time the audience could not hear you. Even myself, I was struggling. If you can go back to that question to say, what does Advocacy South Africa do? How can I seek for support as a diabetic patient or someone, a loved one who's supporting someone with diabetes? And how can I join to become an advocate like yourself if I wish to use my life to educate others or give support to those who are facing this condition?
Thank you for that. I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, you are perfect.
Thank you. So the South African Diabetes Advocacy Group exists because we were a group of people living with diabetes in our own different spaces, and we wanted a community or a space where we could share our experiences, share our frustrations, share our cries, basically, with how our condition is managed in the South African context, and then also have a space to have our voices heard collectively. So that's the sort of the crux of why the South African diabetes advocacy exists. I think when I was personally younger, I wanted a space where I could speak to other people living with diabetes who would understand exactly what it is that I'm speaking about, because a lot of the context that I used to find was based abroad. So it didn't feel like it was relatable. It didn't feel tangible until a few years ago, we found that there were pockets of us in different parts of South Africa who were in the same space but just didn't know where to voice it together. So that's the crux of where the advocacy group came from. And in order to get in touch with the group and be part of the diabetes advocacy, people are more than welcome to log on to diabetesadvocacy.org.za. There's a contact us tab there where you can fill in your details. Also, the same name exists on social media, so you can send them a DM and you will get linked up with the group itself, and also have your stories heard, because it makes a difference when people share their lived experiences on how they're experiencing the condition in the different areas within the South African context, and then we're able to then collectively as one voice come together and say, listen, this is what we're struggling with, this is what we need help with, and so on and so forth.
Thank you very much. You've heard for yourself. Diabetes Advocacy South Africa, it is here to offer support. And it's when you are part of these organizations that you are able to realize that I'm not alone. A journey that you walk with other people becomes much more bearable than when you're doing something all by yourself. And of course, we always say in Prudent Woman, when it comes to health issues, it is never the same. Your condition can never be exact the same with the other person, but you share certain things that will be similar and you are able to give each other support. Thank you very much. And I see on social media, our listeners and our viewers are advising that apparently YouTube today, it seems to be very slow. I got such a comment from a number of people from different areas. If you can all switch back to Facebook, and on Facebook, our page is Bold Moves Radio, you will be able to receive the live streaming as well that side, because it seems like it is not going through on YouTube. They are struggling to be part of the show. And of course, our conversations are always there on the platforms. You can go back and forth and listen to our conversation. And as we say, Prudent Woman, we spark conversations. The 1 hour, it's not enough for us to talk about everything. But once you have heard about something, when you are prudent, you are desiring information so that you can intentionally take those decisions. So it is up to you to go back and make more research on the topics that we talk about, and also to help someone next to you who may be desiring to get more information about this thing. Let us go back to diabetes. What will you say is the main cause of diabetes, if there is such? And how can one reduce the risks of finding themselves with this condition?
Yeah. So I don't think there is a typical main cause for diabetes. Like I said, with type 1 diabetes, there's literally nothing you can do to prevent it from happening. If your pancreas is designed so that at a certain point it stops working, it literally just stops working, and then it's up to you to make sure that you manage the condition well after that. But with type 2 diabetes, there are certain things that you can try and do to ensure that you are at a less risk of getting it. For example, people who are more who have weight, who have gained a lot of weight, are more prone to getting type 2 diabetes. People who don't eat a good diet, so if your food is not well balanced, you are more at risk of getting the disease. But also there's been a study to show that it's also sort of more prevalent amongst men between the ages of 35 to 54. So at that age, if you can just maybe try at that point to ensure that your weight is in check, you're eating a bit more healthy. If you are living a lifestyle of constant smoking and a lot of drinking, maybe you want to cut down on those things to just ensure that you are at a less risk of getting that type 2 diabetes.
So there are things that one can do. We have a resident dietitian here, Sane, on Prudent Woman. She always says to us, we must never live so that we can eat, but we must eat so that we can live. And it keeps on coming up. You know, when we talk about different health conditions, you realize that the most important element in managing all these health conditions, it starts with your diet.
Yeah.
And I wish and I desire that we can take this thing serious, to understand why we have to eat is so that we can live. We are not alive so that we can devour everything that comes before us. And I love what you said. You said it's not about you cutting on carbs. We need all the nutrients. And our resident dietitian always tells us that any diet that says to you, you must not eat something, it's not good. But what's important is to eat in good proportions. When we look at diabetes, you say it yourself to say there are risks that are there and we need to know how to manage them. But another risk that may be there, more especially with health condition, it's inheritance. Can one inherit diabetes? And then should I know that one of my family members suffered from this condition? How should I go about minimizing the risks of me suffering from the same condition?
So I think it goes back to my previous answer to say that if you know the condition exists in your family, you do want to make sure that you do cut down on make sure your weight is in check, make sure that you are eating well, and so on and so forth, so that you can cut down the risk of you getting diabetes. But also with type 1, it's not necessarily hereditary. Like I mentioned earlier on, I do have a daughter, and I think when I was pregnant, that was one of my biggest concerns, to say that what happens, will my daughter get diabetes? It's not a guarantee that she will get diabetes, but obviously the different lifestyles that we live could lead you into that direction. But if you know the condition is evident in your bloodline, try and make sure that you're taking better care of yourself so that you're at a less risk.
Mm-mm. It takes us back again to one of our resident doctors who keeps on saying to us, what's important is for us to always care about understanding the health issues within our family bloodline. And now it takes us there because I saw that with diabetes, what's important is for you to know your risks so that you can respond appropriately. I read somewhere where they said, in terms of diabetes, when you get to know about it, that you are a diabetic patient, you are able to respond appropriately and you are likely to live longer than when you do not know. It's so cruel that it does not wait and say, because you are not aware that I'm here, I will
Yeah.
not do anything to you. It says, when you don't know that I'm here, I'm going to work on you because you don't know how to respond to it. And thank you very much. And you mentioned to us that it is more prevalent between males of the age of 35 and 47.
35 to 50, 54.
35 to 54. And that is the age that most men are more matured, have got more responsibilities. But what I have observed as well with males that are within my family and those that I interact with at work and all other places where we interact, you find that that is their prime stage. And when we talk diabetes, one thing that makes us not to know much about it is because we tend to have myths around it. The only thing that male will associate with diabetes is that the main switch is no longer working, it's forever off. And it makes them not want to come out and say, I've got diabetes, because they are saying, everyone says the main switch is not working. And I would like to believe it's not so. Because when I go through, when I was doing research preparing for this session, I learned that this condition presents itself differently to people. So it does not have to be exactly that. And there are things that one can do. What will you like to say to the males? I mean, even though you're talking to us women, but I know that there are males who are listening. What will you like to say around that myth specifically? Because we realize that it's more prevalent on them. And I would like to believe maybe it's because when you try to run away from something, it tends to chase you because it realizes that you are scared of it. What would you like to say to the males around that?
I'd like to say that please remember that you are not an island, right? You don't survive alone. You're not doing this life thing alone. There are people, firstly, you've got, chances are you've got family and friends who love you. So when you find that yourself having the condition, please speak out. It's also not a life sentence. Like I said, I've had diabetes for 27 years. And in the 27 years, it's a matter of understanding what the condition is, how your body changes with regards to the condition, and what you can do to manage it better. You will find that when your sugars are generally out of range or are in a higher space than what they're supposed to be, that's when then your internal functions sort of then start collapsing, right? I personally am not saying that I've had perfect sugars all my life either. The reason why I wear glasses today is because my blood sugar at a certain point was not well managed, and then that affected my eyesight, and that led to me having to wear glasses. So for me, that was the consequence. For the next person, it might be different. It may lead to something as bad as a limb amputation, which we don't want to get to. So when you start understanding your body, and you also lean on the support that you get through family and friends, as well as your medical supports, be your doctors, your nurses, and so on and so forth. And just accepting the condition, just accept that a lot of people actually have the condition in South Africa and abroad, and that you are able to live a long life with it, just as long as you understand. And there are times where we call it diabetes stigma, where you feel bad. I personally sometimes feel bad if I find myself getting sick in a space where I feel like I should have known better. But I've
Mm.
also learned to forgive myself and say that, you know what, some things are out of my control. Now
Yes.
that I have the flu and my blood sugar is not well, what am I doing about it now today to make sure that tomorrow I'm okay and I'm going to be able to live a longer life?
Mm, mm, mm. Thank you very much. Our time is flying, before we can even get to the other side of talking about this condition. I would like us to go on an ad break. When we come back, we're going to start talking about the symptoms so that anyone who's listening to us and you are not sure when they say you've got diabetes, uh, what is it that we're talking about? I would like us to go on an ad break. When we come back, we will zoom into the condition. You are listening to Bold Moves Radio. The show is Prudent Woman with myself. I am RHULANI Baloyi. I am your host. We come to you every Sunday from 4 o'clock up until 5 o'clock. We are here with you and we have conversations with different professionals, with different individuals, women, to advise each other and empower each other with information so that we can be able to respond intentionally in taking care of ourselves and taking care of our loved ones and doing life as a whole. And today, even as the month of November is dedicated nationally on creating awareness on diabetes, we are talking about diabetes. We have with us Sane Mazibuko. She is an advocate for diabetes. She is sharing with us her experience as a person who's living with diabetes for more than 20 years. And again, as a person who's working in this organization to create awareness and as well as provide support for those who are suffering from diabetes. So we'd like to say, if you are suffering from diabetes or you have a loved one who's suffering from diabetes, you do not have to do this thing by yourself, but there are a whole lot of other people who can share with you. Hold your hands, share the information that's out there on how to be able to successfully manage this condition. With medical science, things have developed. We appreciate medical science because there's a lot of research that goes in on all the different conditions, and we have learned those who are aware of the conditions that they're suffering from, they tend to live longer than someone who's living in the dark, who do not know what they are suffering from. And before we went on an ad break, Sesane shared with us about what they do as Advocacy South Africa. But now we want to now dwell into, how do I now say I've got diabetes? What are the symptoms that may present themselves that I should start worrying and go out and seek for help to find out my status? What is it that should direct me to say, there is something here, you need to go and seek for help?
So there are a number of things that you start seeing when you potentially are living with diabetes. Um, One is you find yourself peeing quite a lot. So if you find that you suddenly now going to the toilet a lot, it could be a sign that there's something to worry about. Excessive weight loss. So suddenly, so all along you've been living a healthy life, you're fine, or you've just living your normal life and everything is fine. And suddenly you find yourself losing a lot of weight. That could be also a red flag to say that there could be a danger there. Also, in line with peeing a lot, you also find yourself drinking a lot of water. I think that reminds me of how I got diagnosed. I remember I was, as much as I was 7 years old, and I was an active child, but I remember being excessively thirsty, and I'd come home and I'd say, "Yo, ma, I've been finding myself very, very thirsty," to the point where my mom actually packed 2 bottles of water for me to take to school, to say that, okay, if you finish this bottle, and you go through this bottle as well. So that extreme thirst is also a sign that your sugars are quite high, and you might potentially want to get it tested, and as well as extreme exhaustion. So if you find yourself presenting with these symptoms, maybe it could be over a long period of time. It also could just be as simple as just within 1 week. Just get yourself tested, and ideally you would want to go when where you have not eaten anything. So maybe first thing in the morning, go get your blood test, blood work done, and the doctors are able to sort of like a trend analysis to say, in the morning before breakfast, your blood sugar should be within a certain range. I think it's 4 to 7. That's where your sugars should be when you are not in a red zone. If you find yourself being outside of that, normally higher than that, it could be a sign that this could be a little bit more serious, and you need to get professional help.
Thank you very much. And what I get there, it's one thing that's very important. You do not have to wait. It does not have to be over a longer period of time. And
Yes.
I think with a lot of conditions, doctors keep on advising us that you don't have to wait and say, no, it's just for this week because it's hot. But as and when you find that you are doing something that is abnormal to how you used to do things, that must be causing a cause for your concern. But because technology has advanced, I know there are those machines that checks your blood sugar and all that. Will you advise a person who is worried on their behavior to make use of those before they go and see a medical doctor? Or you will advise that that should be a monitoring tool once now you know your status?
I think it's safer to use that as a monitoring tool, because also if you give a person that device and they not really sure of what to look out for, how to use it, I think it would bring you more anxiety. So first, get it first tested, and get the testing done first by a professional first, and then thereafter, be able to get that monitoring device. And they're easily available at the different pharmacies that we have. Price range I can't speak of right now because I don't know it off the top of my head. But also, ideally, once say now you've been diagnosed with diabetes, it's very important that you are aware of how your sugars are throughout the course of the day. So ideally, if you've got a monitoring device where you're able to prick your fingers, there are certain times in the day where you should be checking yourself to ensure that you are managing the condition okay. First thing when you wake up in the morning, you're supposed to do a finger prick test to see where you are. Before breakfast, you're supposed to also do a finger prick test. 2 hours after breakfast, you're again supposed to check your sugars, how your sugars are doing. In that way, you're able to see your relationship between the medication you're taking and the food that you're eating for breakfast. Before lunch, you're also supposed to test your sugars again to also again see, in preparation for whatever you're about to eat, how much insulin are you supposed to take? How are you? Because remember, you are able to adjust your insulin in preparation for the meal that you're about to have. So, and also in line with how active your day is. A few months ago, I went through a phase where I was quite active during the course of the day, and in that I was needing to inject myself a little bit less because I was more active. And I think also my food intake ratio was a little bit off. I think if my family is on the line, I think my aunt experienced it with me in July, where in the early mornings my blood sugar was dropping a lot because I was more active in the day, and I realized that I needed to then adjust my insulin accordingly so that I'm not dropping as much in the morning as before, because I was finding myself more active. Again, constant checking your sugars. I know it's tiring, but it's the things that you need to do in order to make sure that we're okay. And then also in that, in the tightness of all of that, we are also experiencing what is called diabetes burnout, where you just don't want to know anymore. You're just so tired of the finger pricks and so on and so forth. When you go through that, please don't beat yourself up. Yes, it's a period that we all experience as people living with diabetes, but also speak to someone when you're going through that, because maybe all you need is just a little encouragement from a friend and family to say that, okay, maybe for today let's not test the sugars at all and let's try again tomorrow. Let's get back on track tomorrow and start again. It's okay to go through those emotions. Every single person living with diabetes has gone through it. The only problem is don't dwell in it. Go through it, yes, but don't stay in that period of being in denial and so on and so forth. The more you know, the better you're able to manage the condition for yourself.
And that's the reason you need support,
Yes.
because as you say, with what you are saying now, it says to me it's very difficult to effectively manage this condition. And I think one way or another, most of us have experienced a loss of a loved one due to diabetes. And most of the time, you find that it's not because they didn't know that they've got diabetes, but at times they give up. I didn't understand how come, you hear someone saying, no, I no longer want to do anything, or they their sugars keeps on dropping or keeps on rising and all these things. And you find that they give up. It's I now understand it's because when you have diabetes, to effectively manage it, you need to monitor yourself. And
Yeah.
something that we were all supposed to do, it should not only be someone suffering from diabetes, but all of us, you're supposed to know how you are, and you get to know yourself health wise, how your body functions, and also monitor yourself in terms of the strain that you give you present to yourself. And what I'm getting from you, Sane, is that when you change your patterns, either in terms of work and all that, it also affects your status and how your sugars will work. So it's a lot of hard work that must be put in order to effectively manage diabetes. And as you say, you tend to be burnout. It says when you have a loved one who's suffering from diabetes, you also need to be present in their lives to help them to manage their condition. Because sometimes I can be doing some work and I'm not aware that I'm putting myself under a lot of strain. Then when you have someone who is closer to you, those are the people to remind you to say, no, I think now we are under a strain. You say you were with your aunt, then I would like to believe it was much easier for your aunt to say, your blood sugars, it seems something is happening, and you are able to start now effectively manage yourself. I will want us to go on an ad break. When we come back, Sane, you said you've got type 1 diabetes. And I see someone is asking, oh, so there are types for diabetes. If you can take us through the other types, even though it will be just in a summary form, just to highlight to us what are the other types so that we can understand, even as we continue with our research, to know this condition so that we can respond appropriately. I will want us to go on an ad break. When we come back, we will talk on the types for diabetes. You are listening to Bold Moves Radio. The show is Prudent Woman with myself. I am RHULANI BALOYI. We come to you every Sunday, 4 o'clock up until 5 o'clock. We have conversations with different women who are professionals, women who share their life stories to encourage us and to empower us as women to become prudent so that we can take intentional decisions, even as we do life for ourselves and for the benefit of our loved ones. And today we have Sane Mazibuko. She's a diabetes advocate. She is talking to us about diabetes. Even as a nation, we are creating awareness around diabetes. Before we went on an ad break, she has taken us through a whole lot in terms of diabetes. We were talking on the symptoms, but now we want to talk on the types of diabetes. In her opening statement, she said she is a person who is living with diabetes. She had diabetes for more than 20 years, and she indicated to us she has type 1 diabetes, which says there are a whole lot of other types. Sene, may you please share with us in summarily, because we no longer have time, on what are the other types and how do you differentiate between the different types?
Sure. So, as I said, I have type 1 diabetes, which means that my pancreas just does not work at all. And what the function of the pancreas is to create insulin, which balances your sugar. It's a hormone that balances your sugar internally. So, basically, your relationship between food and exercise and the likes is balanced internally by the pancreas. By the pancreas and the insulin that it produces. So I inject every single day the hormone insulin to make sure that my body is balanced and is able to function well. The other type of diabetes that exists is type 2 diabetes, which basically your body does not produce enough insulin. So it produces insulin, but not enough insulin. And then your body then become resistant to insulin. And in order for people with type 2 diabetes to manage the condition, what they typically need to do is orally take tablets to help them manage the condition on their with that regard. There is another type of diabetes which is normally present in pregnant women. It's gastric diabetes, which is basically sort of like a pre-diabetes. So it's a very, very, very loud warning sign to say that if you don't take better care of yourself after giving birth or during the process of pregnancy itself, then thereafter, you are at a very, very, very higher risk of getting type 2 diabetes. Again, with the just gastric diabetes, again, it's a matter of how you manage your diet, and as well as your weight, in order for you to better manage your chances of getting type 2 diabetes.
So what I'm getting here, Sane, is that the different types of diabetes presents themselves differently, and you have to manage them differently. That takes us back to the question we asked you. I would like to emphasize on it because sometimes that's what we tend to do. When you see these symptoms that she spoke about, drinking a lot of water, urinating a lot, wanting to do it on your own, going and get the gadgets just to test yourself, then you may not be able to know which type of diabetes you have. But should you go to a medical practitioner, they are able to let you know what is it and you are able to respond appropriately, because we hear from her that they present themselves differently and you have to do different things. So let us not stay back and say, I've checked myself, it's just the sugar level, that's my sugar level just keeps on going up, and this is what I can do. But we're drawing very close to the end of the show because time is not on our side. But I would like to ask you, Sanim, we are a group of women, and most women, we take care of our families. Can a child, or at what age can a child have diabetes?
The reality of it is a child can literally be born with diabetes. Like I said, if your pancreas is not working at any given time, you can have diabetes. And I think or I was diagnosed at 7 years old. And I know for a fact that my parents were in denial about it until I was taken to a diabetic clinic where we saw children born with diabetes, children as young as 2 months old or even 2 years old having the condition. So at any point, if you are supposed to have type 1 diabetes where your pancreas does not work, age does not define it. At any point, you are able to get it.
So even children, as young as they are, they can have diabetes. More reason for us to know the symptoms, because as a child, they are not aware of their surroundings, but is the caretaker who should be able to bring forth all these things to say, maybe I need to take my child to go and see a medical practitioner. And we've learned from Prudent Woman that, when it comes to seeking for health advice or assistance, going to a medical practitioner, you need to be able to describe the symptoms that are presenting to yourself, which says to us, Prudent Woman, let us care about ourselves. Let us observe ourselves. Not to say we must be obsessed with diseases, but just get to know your body, get to know your loved ones, and be able to initiate that need to seek for assistance. And before we draw close to the end, I would like to ask you, Sesani, being someone who is working with people with diabetes and yourself having diabetes, as a woman, what will you advise to me to say, what will a person who has been diagnosed with this diabetes, what type of support will they seek from me so that I know how to respond to it, more especially around the myths that we spoke about? Because at times, because of lack of understanding of these conditions, even ourselves, as I seek to assist, I aggravate the problem than for me to help. What is it that you think is the main support which someone who has been diagnosed seek from me as a support system?
I think something that's very important is that even if a person has been now diagnosed with diabetes, remember that a person is a person first. So just because now I have a condition does not mean that the things that people go through I must not go through. Um, and again, the relationship with food plays a very, very critical role in managing diabetes. We I think as black people, we have this thing of saying that now because you've got diabetes, you can't eat this, you can't eat that. Listen, I still eat things that contain sugar. It just means that I must be more wary of them and not have them as much as the next person. So also as I think as mothers, as the woman role in the home, we also play a big role in the kind of foods that we ensure that our family consumes. So once a person is diagnosed with diabetes, don't now change their diet so that it's bland. So now you're not adding any salt, you're not adding anything, you're just giving them boiled food and nothing else. They are a person first, so we need to try and make sure that we adjust our eating ways so that it is a bit healthier, but it's still nutritious, and it's also still tasty and delicious. So don't deprive people with diabetes of food in general. Just like make it still interesting so that they also don't, because now if you're gonna make change it completely, chances are the person is going to rebel against it and go ahead and eat the things that they are not supposed to be eating at all, just to prove a point. So that role that we play in that regard is very, very important. And how we speak to people also is very important, because you don't want to make a person feel like they are not no longer included in family settings, in conversations. If a person starts coughing and you say, hey, but you've got diabetes, you mustn't do this, you mustn't do that, try and understand what the person is going through. I always say that as much as the diabetes community, including our healthcare professions, always tell us that we're supposed to have sugars in a certain range. We mustn't also over obsess about it, because sometimes the reason why we're not having our sugars in a certain range is because there's another problem that we're dealing with that we're not understanding. I remember in my teenage years, going through hormonal changes was the hardest, because I didn't understand the changes that my body was going through. So my sugars were not balancing, or were not in range quite a lot during that time, until I started having conversations with my doctors to understand a bit more what the changes my body is going through, and how I can manage myself better to go through those changes. I still go through those challenges now. The menstrual cycle is very, very difficult on the body, and those changes, I now know how to adjust my sugars, how to adjust my food, so that I don't suffer a lot during those phases. So as women, if we can just listen to our family members and ourselves, our bodies as well, to ensure that we're able to take better care of ourselves. Yes, we need to care about the numbers of who our sugars are, but we also need to understand the crux of the changes that we're going through: work stress, family stress, whatever the condition is that we're going through at the time. If we understand that better, it will automatically sort of almost automatically result in us being able to better respond to those changes through our bodies.
Thank you very much. It says to me that as a support system for your loved one with diabetes, it's also important for you to know everything about the condition and also to join them. At times, the problem is you wishing for this person to move away from eating one, two, three that you used to enjoy as a delicacy within the family, but now you want to prepare it in their presence. I think over time, as they effectively manage the condition, they will get to understand. But maybe there are sacrifices that we need to make as family
Mm,
and as
mm.
women. Yeah, we need to sacrifice when you have a loved one who has been diagnosed. That's why they say when someone has been diagnosed, who is your loved one, you are also affected, which means you have to also adjust. You cannot do life as usual and expect the other person to now try to adjust. Thank you very much, Sis Sunny. You mentioned that you are with Diabetes Advocacy South Africa. I see someone asking here, are they in all provinces of the country, or they are in certain provinces? And if they are not there in a province where one is, how can you be able to reach them?
So the community exists online. Yeah, we exist online, and within the different areas in the country, we are trying to set up supports, and the support primarily exists through WhatsApp groups, right? So, as we mentioned, this coming week is International Diabetes Awareness Week. So the 14th of November is International Diabetes Day, where we are running a campaign where we say we hashtag wear blue for diabetes. So in your schools, work, etc., etc., if you could wear blue in support of diabetes, that's what we were driving for. But in terms of support in the different areas, the support exists primarily online, and then we do have different groups in different areas. Off the top of my head, I know there's a group in Cape Town, Durban, Free State, as well as in Gauteng, and those different areas are having a picnic this Saturday in different areas in the different provinces. But we love for the reach to reach all 9 provinces. So if you are in a space where you feel like you are able to sort of be the person, please do reach out. Again, the website is sa diabetesadvocacy.org.za. You can click on the contact us tab, fill in your details, and then somebody will be able to get in touch with you.
Thank you very much for that information. So they are reachable everywhere. You cannot say that they're not in your province. When people are available online, they are available for all of us. So you cannot sit in your corner. There's a support group that will help you on how to effectively manage this condition. So thank you very much for this awareness. We no longer have time. As I said, Prudent Woman, we kickstart conversations. 1 hour is not enough to talk on a condition and exhaust everything. As you bid the audience farewell, I would like to invite you to say anything that you want us to know about diabetes that we never touched on, more especially as we go into the week where we are creating awareness on diabetes.
Firstly, thank you so much for this time that we've had. And I think my parting shots with regards to diabetes is that, again, you are a human first before you are a person associated with the condition. Please take care of yourself holistically in everything that you do. Don't suffer alone. There is ample support available. If you can't reach the group itself, I've always opened up my social media to say that feel free to drop me an inbox, a DM, whatever the case may be. It's the Sane Diabetic on Facebook as well as on Instagram. Reach out, and if you and I will also direct you in a direction where you are able to get support. Never suffer alone, and also whatever the issue is in your space with regards to diabetes, you are able to make a difference on your own. For me, support for children with diabetes is the biggest one because I felt quite alone in my journey with diabetes as a child, and I'm always willing to help a person who needs support with regards to where children are concerned. So don't suffer alone, and no matter how small it may be to you, it's important. Just speak out about it. We will give you the support you need.
Thank you very much for coming through. We have learned a lot from you. And the message that is very key is for us to know that you need not suffer alone. And for us as women is to know that our loved ones who are suffering from this condition needs us more than anything because they need support. It's not a simple journey. It's very difficult for one to go on this journey all by themselves. So thank you very much for being with us. We had a wonderful time. I would like to believe you also had a wonderful time. Information can never be enough. Thank you for joining us. And once more, we are with you every Sunday from 4 o'clock up until 5 o'clock. And as Bold Moves Radio, we are not yet done. We have a wonderful program that is coming at 5:30 with Pastor Fridama Tebula, the Living Word Outreach Program. She will be here with us, joining us, talking to us about the Word of God. And of course, on Tuesday, we've got the African Experience. Tune in and keep on learning from all these programs. From our technical team, I would like to say thank you very much for your support, and our executive producer, Pastor Strike Mangani, thank you very much. And we would like to say have a blessed and a wonderful week ahead, even as we continue to learn more about diabetes so that we can support our family members. Have a blessed week ahead. We shall be with you again next week, same time, same place. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is.
Streaming 24/7.
24/7.
Bold Moves Radio.
Bold Moves Radio.
Afrika, nakupenda sana. Oh, Afrika, nakupenda sana.